landscape of Michigan, a state with a thriving creative ecosystem that has birthed iconic movements like Motown and the Purple Rose Theater. Home to legendary musicians, writers, and artists, Michigan boasts a rich tapestry of cultural heritage known worldwide. Michigan Creates is a podcast series that will connect listeners with gifted artists and cultural institutions that are nurturing Michigan's vibrant creative landscape. I'm your host, Ara Topouzian. Today we're exploring the world of visual storytelling with Julie Dawson, an accomplished artist whose work captures both imagination and emotion. From vibrant illustrations to heartfelt children's books, Julie's creativity knows no bounds. It was truly a joy to speak with her, not only because of the incredible body of work, but also because of the energy and passion she brings to her art at an age when many have slowed down. Her spirit is nothing short of inspiring. Stick around as we explore her artistic journey, the inspiration behind her work, and what it means to be a creator in Michigan. Let's get started. Julie, thank you for being on the program today for Michigan Creates. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. You were recommended to me to talk to. I had not heard of you. And after you and I had a real brief conversation, I did some research on you, and I've told you offline I saw a video that was fascinating to watch. And so I feel honored to have you on this program today. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you very much. It's always wonderful to have somebody discover you.
Yes, definitely. And we're not too far apart. You're in Birmingham, Michigan. I'm not too far from there. And you continue to have a very long and illustrious art career. And so I want to maybe not go right from the beginning, but let's talk about how long you've actually been an artist.
I moved to Detroit to take a job with the Girl Scouts. That was
Yes.
in 1963. And I didn't know anybody here. I didn't know a single soul. So I thought, well, at night, I think I'll take a class in watercolor. And 10 years later, I resigned from my job to become a full-time artist, author, designer, photographer, and speaker. That was 51 years ago. So it was a great time to start. I just loved watercolor, and I loved the opportunities that it brought me because I was working for the Girl Scouts, where one of my jobs was to sell people on giving money to the Girl Scouts. How hard is it to sell a piece of art in comparison? So that worked really well. And I've had a wonderful, wonderful career. It keeps going in many, many directions, and it probably still will.
And so the Girl Scouts were very influential on you, and you've been involved are you still involved with the Girl Scouts?
Very heavily, internationally. I've just sponsored 6 international conferences for young women from the age 18 to 25.
So how has that involvement influenced your art and community projects?
Well, because I donate a lot of the work. Well, in fact, you can't see, but behind me
Right.
are kaleidoscopes that I have made for Girl Scout organizations around the world, and I work in my organizational abilities with them too. But I do a lot of designing and creating of things for them to sell to raise money. So that's really fun.
You've traveled around the world, I don't know, close to 100 or over 100 different countries. So capturing those diverse cultures through your own art. So how about that experience, the global experience? How did that shape your perspective as an artist?
Well, the same thing happened when I moved here.
Yeah.
2 amazing things happened when I moved here. I didn't know a single soul, but someone asked me if I'd like a blind date. And that blind date happened to be an incredible man who shared my interests in the world and in traveling. So we'd go for a month to 7 weeks just to one country. And
Yep.
we ended up going to 101 countries. And we went by ourselves. So we had the opportunity to do what we wanted to do and explore things that were interesting to us, mainly to find out what makes the country tick. Fortunately, because I had been involved in international Girl Scout conferences, I had Girl Scout friends in many countries. So when you stay in a home, it's a whole different experience. You see that
Right.
country through their eyes and their activities. So that was very important. And also just knowing about the different countries and being in, and having gone to different events around the world with the Girl Scouts. It's all a very, it all works into art because I think uh, basically at 17, when I started my international Girl Scout experiences in
Yeah.
Switzerland, their purpose was to change hate to appreciate, to celebrate. So that's been a purpose in my books and in my art, uh, to bring joy to people and to make life, a better world, and to be able to do it for organizations is just very, very exciting.
It's amazing the amount of work that you've done, and you talked about sort of the different mediums that you've worked in. So since you mentioned books, we need to talk about Silly Billies,
Mhm.
which I did get a kick out of just hearing that word, because certainly it's a word that I heard when I was a kid. Certainly I was
No,
probably referred to as that, you little silly Billy. It's not
no.
necessarily a word you hear a lot now. Talk about this. These are children's books that it's
Mhm.
sort of a series called Silly Billies, characters and whatnot. So talk about that. How did you develop that theme?
Life hands you these things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I had done a painting of children in silly costumes doing silly things because somebody had asked me if I would do things that could be given as gifts at for new babies or at showers. And
Right.
so I called it the Silly Billies. Well, I discovered that I had a cousin whom I had never met who was 6, had just been diagnosed with brain cancer. So I thought, ooh, she needs something silly. So I sent her a copy of the painting. And then 3 mornings I woke up, and in the night I had written these books about the Silly Billies. They were really pretty fun and silly and whimsical. And then I wrote another one of that in that same ilk. In the last couple of years, I've written 2 serious ones. The Silly Billies got serious because one is called The Silly Billies Find Stripes and Spots. And it's about the Silly Billies going to Africa. Of course, they're imaginary children, where they discover how wonderful it is to know people, animals that are different. And
Right.
that actually won the Next Generation Independent Book Award for the illustrations. But it's about changing hate to appreciate, to celebrate. And then I was commissioned by the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts to do a book about confidence, because confidence has been a really issue for kids today
Sure.
after the pandemic. So that one's the Silly Billies Find Confidence. So those two. Now I'm about to do another thing about the Silly Billies, which will also have to do with trying to bring peace into the world.
Julie, how many books have you written so far then in this series?
Well, 7. There's one that I wrote for Care House, which is
Okay.
a house here for children who are neglected or abused. And so it's all I had done murals in the building of the Silly Billies to make it a happy place. And so while I was doing the murals, I thought, oh, these kids who are coming here are coming for rotten reasons. I think they each should get their own book. So I did a book for them where it's basically you're in charge and you're the master of your life. And it's a very positive book trying to give kids the ability to take over and stand up to the things that are tough in their lives. So that was one I just did for them, and they gave them to each of the kids who came there for their counseling. So
That,
that's 7 in that series. And then I've also done a coffee table book.
yeah, I want to talk about that. So you also have a fascination for bells.
I do.
I mean, you're a very intriguing person. I mean, you really have got a lot of different. You're not really focused on one thing. You've got a lot of different things going on. But talk about the bells. Like, how is this? How did that become a passion for you?
Again, a crazy reason. My
Yep.
husband and I went to a bell ringers concert, and we had never been to one before.
Right.
Afterwards, we went to They had a coffee hour afterwards, and we met the director of the Bell Ringers, and had a wonderful conversation with her. She lives in Detroit. We live in Birmingham. The next day, we happened to be out in West Bloomfield in a store, and we happened to run into her.
Okay.
And so, anyway, she came over, became a friend and a customer. And because I do photographs for cards, greeting cards, she said, how about doing some of Belle's? Because you travel. Could you take some photographs of Belle's? So I did. And then I did some more and some more. And pretty soon, when I had taken over 15,000 photographs,
Wow.
I decided, maybe this should be a book. So the book is really fun because it's photographs of Belle's in 57 countries. And then I've written the stories of either how we found them or how they're used. And bells are the most unique object in the whole world. There are more uses of bells, and the weirder the reason, the more fun it was. So eventually I wrote a book. I have enough photographs, different ones, that I could do another book, but I think I'm moving on to other things.
Wow. Do you ever rest?
Nope.
Nope. Good for you.
Well,
And you have a home studio, so talk about that. The video that I saw showed bits and pieces, and like I said, one of these fine days, I want to make it out to your home studio. But for those that haven't been there, describe what they would experience by visiting your studio.
well, I am so lucky to live where I do. I've lived in this house for 51 years, and I'm 5 blocks from downtown Birmingham, but I have an acre of woods, and I'm on the Rouge River, and another 3/4 acres of gardens. So, first of all, outside is so fun, and I've designed a fabulous gazebo with one of my kaleidoscopes for the roof, and it's a place for conversations. I think that's what I just love about life, meeting different people and the wonderful conversations that happen. So then when you come inside, I have art tours. It's like a 3-hour program.
Yeah.
And when people come, we tour the outside and I tell them the stories about all the gardens. There were no flowers here when we moved in, and now they're everywhere. And so then I give a little talk about my world as an artist. We take a tour of the house where all the paintings are original watercolors. Then we come to my studio. In my studio, there are 60 reproductions of 60 different paintings and note cards and fabrics that I've designed, 100 samples of fabrics. And you see where I work, and I do a demonstration of watercolor if we have time. Then we can go to Studio B. I've designed and had made 60 different products with my art on them. And so
Wow.
that's another whole fun experience. Anyway, I'm out here about 100 hours a week. So it's a good thing. I love being here. And I look out over the river and the woods and the flowers. And there's always a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. I'm getting tired just kind of thinking about it.
Yeah, please don't.
No. So I want to go back to Silly Billies for a minute because some of your artwork has landed in like children's hospitals. Is that correct?
Right.
Talk about that. How did that come about?
Well, I've done murals in various hospitals of the Silly Billies themselves. But during COVID,
Yep.
I was donating my paintings to the frontline workers and first responders. Because such an awe and such appreciation of what they were doing. Astounding that they gave so much of themselves to absolute strangers at peril of themselves. So one of the first person that I contacted about this project, it was the director of the children's pediatric department at Royal Oak Beaumont Hospital. She said, "You mean you'd give paintings to my staff?" And I said, "Sounds good to me." So anyway, got started. I ended up being in over 50 places and being able to give about 2,000 paintings to the incredible people who were working. So when this gal came to pick up some work, she said, "Oh, I'm going to Children's Hospital. I'm going to a new job. I wonder if you'd be willing to give them a painting." And I said, well, how about I just do the whole department? So I did,
Wow.
which was so fun. And my book is on the wall, The Silly Billies Find Stripes and Spots. And so the hope is that I'm presenting a peace idea through kids and through fun. So, like, there's a 29-foot mural, 29 by 5-foot mural that I did of the animals out in the wild. And then there are 22 therapy rooms, so they each have art, and so do the halls. Now, I have two kinds of art there, my paintings, and then there's another kind of art that I do on the computer. And this is so fun. I will take a painting and
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on the computer. And then I go and I take bits and pieces of it and I go, whack, and the noise is very important. And then I make these animals out of from bits and pieces from my paintings. And in the mural, I also did mountains and trees and grass and everything else. So the whole department is based on silly billies
Right.
and animals and Africa.
So you mentioned you're working on another Silly Billy's book. What's next? What haven't you done that you would still like to do? Because you have a great zest of life, and I can't imagine your answer is going to be I'm not going to do anything. I'm pretty much done with everything. What's next for Julie Dawson?
Well, you see, it kind of depends who calls me and needs something. So
Okay.
yesterday, somebody called me. I work with her very closely. She's a fabulous, fabulous person, Brenda Rosenberg, and she works for peace in all over the world, but primarily trying to make us realize that the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, and all other religions, we all have the basic desire to be good people. So
Right.
she's putting on a program at the Detroit Institute of Arts, and so she has this. I had this idea of maybe having a coloring book that the kid. It's for children. It's for Girl Scouts, and she had this idea that we could have a coloring book with all the different colors that make up skin tones for the kids to draw.
Hmm.
So I'm about to do that. Probably won't be a book. It may be something else because why not?
Right.
And I just finished a wonderful project for breast cancer survivors or people who were. It's a fundraising group called Shades of Pink, and they raise money for women who are undergoing breast cancer treatment who have financial issues, not medical finances, but a leaky roof or a broken tire or whatever.
Right.
And so I just did some really fun things. The fundraiser is for about 3,000 people at walk at the zoo. And every year they choose a particular animal for the theme. This year it's the sloth. And so I did a painting of about 9 sloths up in the trees. And because of course the color for breast cancer is pink, they had to be pink sloths.
Of
And
course.
so we're making beanies and scarves and pillows from these designs, and they'll be for sale for them to raise money. So you never know what's going to happen next.
No, you never know. You keep an open mind and an open book for what's next. Julie, you've done so much. And for anyone that's listening to this show that is an aspiring artist, any type of an artist, what piece of advice would you give them if they're just starting out and they want to do, they want to accomplish the type of legacy that you have done? What kind of advice would you give them?
First of all, I think that every artist, to be an artist, to be creative, means you must be original. Don't just copy. Think of something new, something different, something that's from inside you, and don't just follow trends. Be original. And the second thing that I would say is this sounds kind of simple. Anybody can make something. It's the marketing that's tough. And so if you have an ability to learn how to market your work effectively, that's going to take you farther than all the paintings or clay or whatever it is you make. It's going to take you much farther than whatever you create. And Today, I think actually it's much harder to sell than it was when I started 51 years ago
Sure.
because there's more art. People are doing it.
Yeah.
And the computer, which was supposed to be such a great way to sell, that just makes it billions more things for people from which to choose. And so I think that's really harder. So I think the other thing I would say is I have to find new ways to have your art known. Enter shows. Don't be hurt when you get rejected. That's part of the game. Don't be competitive. Just be yourself and move forward and find other things to do. But basically, find things that interest you that are unique to the world and that you can do in a unique way.
That's great. That is perfect advice. And I concur with that, by the way. I do feel that sometimes artists don't understand that there's that business side that they have to do, and they don't always know how to do it. And putting yourself out there for some artists is not easy to do, but it's probably just as equally as important as making the artwork. So great advice. Julie, we could talk for a long time. I appreciate you taking the time to talk and to inspire, mainly as a artist here in Michigan. And folks can go to juliedawsonartist.com, and we'll make sure that everyone sees that link as well. So, Julie, thank you very much for agreeing to be on this program today. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Well, you're wonderful to contact me, and it's going to be much more fun even when you come here and visit. Okay. Thank you, Ara.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Michigan Creates. We hope you've had fun diving into the creativity of our state. From Motown melodies to artisanal wonders, Michigan never fails to dazzle. But hey, the creativity doesn't stop here. Connect with us online, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new episodes. Help us spread the word and also share your own artistic stories. So until next time, I'm Ara Topouzian, and I want you to keep those musical instruments in tune, keep those paintbrushes moving, and keep those cameras rolling. Remember, in Michigan, the only limit is your imagination. Stay creative.